Hi, I'm Amber,
And I'm Kirsten.
and you're listening to
Lurking in the Shadows.
Spooky Edition.
Hello, Shadows.
Hi.
Welcome back to spooky episode technically number 2, but our third episode of October.
Yes, so we are unfortunately more than halfway through October now at this point, and that makes me sad.
That does make me sad, yeah.
Yeah. So, future me is sad about.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
Crying, actually.
Yeah. Spooky season.
Depressed.
Spooky season always goes so fast.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, November 1st starts my seasonal depression.
I do
And
still.
then I will be depressed until Memorial Day.
I do still enjoy November, but then
My birthday's in November, so I
say,
look forward to that.
yeah,
But after that,
yeah.
no.
Football's the only thing that gets me through December, baby.
I don't want snow. I hate it.
I don't like Christmas. So.
The thought of it. Ugh. I hate it. I gotta move to Florida.
Yeah.
Take their crazy laws and crazy people over snow.
You get sick of the heat, though. I'm getting sick of it.
Oh, no, there's no way. I could never.
I'll give you 10 years. Come do it for 10 years, and then we'll talk.
We'll see. Alright, so today's episode will be alien abductions and cryptids.
Well, like,
So this will just be
mine's an
fun.
encounter, though. Like, I wouldn't call it an abduction. So it was
Yeah,
alien.
mine is, yeah. Anything alien related.
Yes. And then cryptids, which I think is a wide variety, but also maybe whenever I say my cryptid, nobody ever knows what it is. So
Yeah, I don't think I had ever heard of it until you told me about it.
yeah. So.
Well, I'm going to kick us off with the Brooklyn Bridge alien abduction, and it's also known as the Manhattan Alien Abduction. In the early morning hours of November 30th, 1989, Linda Napolitano, a New York City stay-at-home mom, claimed she was abducted by 3 extraterrestrial beings from her 12th floor apartment. She said they made her levitate out her window and into a spacecraft hovering above the city, where they performed experiments on her and then returned her to her bedroom.
I didn't know about this case until when I started researching an alien, and this came up. So, when you told me,
yeah, it's like a well-known one.
Yeah, well, but I didn't know about it actually. Like,
I didn't either.
Yeah, well, no,
apparently it's well known.
Yeah, so I do know a few little facts, but as you get deeper into this, it'll be things that I don't know.
Okay. This wasn't her first alien encounter, though. Supposedly, 13 years earlier, she had another extraterrestrial encounter that she claimed to have endured during a weekend in the Catskills. She dreamt she was levitating, then woke up outside in the grass, confused with a nosebleed. Which would be kind of scary. Like, why? You go to bed in your bed and then you wake up outside in the grass.
With a nosebleed. I wonder if she was
Yeah.
injured, though, or just a nosebleed.
I don't know, because after that experience, she found a strange, like a bump on the side of her nose, had it x-rayed, and there was a foreign object up her nose.
They didn't ever take it out, probably.
Well, she was going to get it taken out, but by the time they did that, it was gone.
Interesting.
Yeah. Around this time, she also started attending a support group for abductees ran by a man named Bud Hopkins. So I guess this happens to people a lot. They get abducted, there's a support group for it. Hopkins was an American artist, author, and ufologist. He was a prominent figure in alien abduction phenomena and related UFO research. Hopkins believed that this object up her nose was evidence that aliens inserted something into her nostril, and he called it the radiological smoking gun. But like I mentioned, the object had allegedly disappeared when a specialist went back and tried to remove it.
Yeah.
Napolitano reported this new abduction experience that she had just experienced in November to Hopkins, who kind of became like a big supporter for her, and they formed a close relationship. Napolitano said around 3 a.m. on November 30th, 1989, she woke up to find a, quote, diminutive, large-headed figure with enormous black eyes coming toward her, end quote. Once inside the UFO, she underwent a series of quasi-medical procedures for 2 hours before being returned back home. She said, quote, there were these creatures around me, and they were examining my stomach. One of them came after me with a needle the length of a turkey baster. I didn't want to believe that I was a lab rat being experimented on, but after a while I just couldn't deny it anymore, end quote. I mean, that's pretty horrifying, even if she is like, I don't know, even if it's just a dream where this is happening to her, that's a long-ass needle.
Yeah, that's just hard. Yeah, that's a nightmare, man.
Mm-hmm. Hopkins used hypnotic regression to help her remember more details, like allegedly being levitated in a brilliant bluish-white beam of light. Napolitano also claimed that years after the incident, the aliens continued to target her family and give them nosebleeds. Hopkins found that 20 or so people allegedly witnessed Napolitano hovering in the air above her building the night she claimed this abduction happened. Hopkins even wrote a book in 1997 from a believer's standpoint titled Witness, the True Story of the Brooklyn Bridge Abduction. However, none of the witnesses' identities have ever been verified, including 2 security officers who Hopkins claimed wrote him letters about what they saw while allegedly guarding former UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar. The diplomat later refused any claims on PBS, stating, quote, I cannot but strongly deny the claim that I have had an abduction experience at any time. On several occasions when questioned about that matter, I reiterated that these allegations were completely false, and I hope this statement will definitely put an end to these unfound rumors, end quote. But I didn't really read anything that he was being abducted. It's just these 2 security officers that worked for him witnessed Napolitano being abducted.
Yeah.
So his little quote or statement that he made was a little confusing to me. Like, I didn't find anywhere that anyone was accusing him of being abducted. It was just his security guards witnessed an abduction. Napolitano told Vanity Fair in 2013, quote, if I was hallucinating, then the witnesses saw my hallucination. That sounds crazier than the whole abduction phenomenon, end quote. Hopkins' wife, Carol Rainey, was a science filmmaker and a skeptic and would sometimes record sessions Hopkins had with abductees. She said everything became about UFOs and aliens, and she wanted to understand it more. She even did one of his hypnosis sessions, and things she didn't want to remember from her childhood surfaced. So I guess it works.
Yep.
There is a Netflix documentary on this case titled The Manhattan Alien Abduction that showed some of his other clients going through hypnosis. Another man in the documentary who claims he was abducted also spoke about an object being inserted up his nostril. At the beginning of this documentary, Linda says, quote, you would have to be a sociopath or a genius to pull off a hoax like this. I am not a sociopath nor a genius, end quote. Her story became pretty big. She was on talk shows and radio shows talking about her experience. But Carol, who originally believed Linda, began to become skeptical of her story. Carol and Linda are both interviewed in the documentary, so I do recommend you watch it to form your own opinion of who you believe more. Linda actually ended up suing Netflix over the documentary in 2024, citing it paints her in an unflattering light while allowing Rainey to play a prominent part in the story. And I'm not actually sure what came of that lawsuit. I couldn't find literally any info about it.
What do you watched the whole documentary?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? Did it lean more one way than the other?
I think that the documentary leaned more on the skeptical side.
That's the vibe I got from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether I believe her or not, I don't know. It is interesting that 20 people came forward to say they saw her levitating,
I know,
but
but
none of them ever name themselves. Like they were never identified.
yeah.
But this Bud Hopkins guy, he really believed her and all his abductees. He started a support group for him.
I personally don't believe her.
Yeah, I think it's a little far fetched.
Yeah.
What that object up her nose was, I don't know. Could she have just put something up there?
I think she put something up there or something that dissolved or something that she put up there herself and then took it out or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems more to me like she sleepwalks maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
And has lucid dreams or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the end of that story.
Yeah,
We don't really know.
I think that one's I do believe in alien abductions Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah.
If you don't know that story, I'm sure you could find I know there's a documentary out there somewhere or something, but
Yeah, I feel like that's the most famous alien abduction story.
yeah, and I do believe that one. But this one I don't think it's just too I don't know. I don't want to point fingers or I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's I don't know, older now, in her 70s or something now in the documentary, and she still believes everything that happened to her.
Yeah. Man, the filter I'm using right now is really double walled and enforced, maybe. The things I want to say, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So that is the brief story of the Manhattan Alien Abduction.
All right. Well, mine is not an abduction, so. But I still think I do believe this one.
Oh, okay.
So, on June 24th, 1947, Kenneth Arnold, so this is, I'm setting you up for the scene here. Kenneth Arnold, who was a private pilot, was flying his small plane in, how do you say that? Chehalis, Washington. He was searching for a military plane that had crashed earlier. And in the distance, he saw about 9 silver crescent-shaped flying objects. And he guessed they were traveling over 1,000 miles per hour. He is quoted saying, "They seem to flip and flash in the sun just like a mirror, kind of waving and going at a terrific speed," end quote. When he got to the next airport stop and told the workers what he had witnessed, they all laughed him off. But after fueling up and heading to the next airport, there were reporters waiting for him, ready to hear his story. When he described the object in the sky looking like a saucer dish cut in half, the reporter decided to call them flying saucers in his report. Thus the birth of the term flying saucer.
Oh, that's cool.
This brings me to tell you about a man with some influence of the views of UFOs from the side of the U.S. Air Force. I'm sure as you know, the government, specifically the U.S. Air Force, have tried for many decades to debunk the possibility of extraterrestrial existing. One of the main people to try and do this was Joseph Allen Hymek, I think it is. He was born on May 1st, 1910, and died in 1986. He had a pretty impressive life with all of his achievements, including becoming an astronomer and a college professor. Oh, and a ufologist.
Oh, another one.
Yeah. He's best known for his studies of UFOs and working on Project Blue Book from 1952 to 1969. Project Blue Book was a study ran by the Air Force to study unidentified flying objects. This project was ran out of Wright-Patterson's Air Force Base in Ohio. Hymek was born in Chicago and got his Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Chicago. And he also completed his PhD in astrophysics there.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So during World War II, he was a scientist at Johns Hopkins in the physics lab. He had discovered a radio proximity fuse that the Navy would use. But after that endeavor, he continued his career in physics and astronomy in Ohio State, becoming a professor in 1950. So now in 1956, he began working with Fred Whipple, who was a Harvard astronomer at the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory. So a very impressive career adventure that he had. And he had a huge impact on the media with reports from the U.S. Air Force because he got hired by the U.S. Air Force and they used him a lot. And what he is and that's what he's mostly known for, is working for the U.S. Air Force. He was debunking UFOs for them, like he was going over any kind of reports and giving that science-based aspect of it, side of it. In 1948, when he was hired, he went in with a full-blown skeptic's attitude. He believed that most reports or sightings were made by unreliable people who mistaken man-made aircrafts as UFOs. He encouraged people in his interviews to look at the objects from a more, quote, realistic view instead of the unknown phenomenon. He had a stance that this, quote, fad of alien reports was ridiculous and would soon pass. This didn't go over well for UFO sightings that involved dozens of witnesses. Hymek's report would tend to come off to the witnesses as him calling them dumb or crazy for what they were seeing. And by 1953, Hymek's tune had changed, though. The first glimpse of his opinion changing is seen on his report that he wrote for the Journal of the Optical Society of America. The article was titled Unusual Aerial Phenomenon. He is quoted saying in this article, quote, "Ridicule is not part of the scientific method, and people should not be taught that it is. The steady flow of reports, often made in concert by reliable observers, raises question of scientific obligation and responsibility. Is there any residue that is worthy of scientific attention, or if there isn't, does not an obligation exist to say so to the public, to keep faith with the trust the public places in science and to the scientists?" End quote.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I really think he did his job and what he was asked of, but then once he realized kind of how much the Air Force and honestly the government is trying to keep everything on the hush-hush, his tune changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was interviewed in 1985 and was asked what caused his change of opinion, and he is quoted saying, quote, "Two things, really. One was the completely negative and unyielding attitude of the Air Force. They wouldn't give UFOs the chance of existing even if they were flying up and down the street in broad daylight. Everything had to have an explanation. I began to resent that. even though I basically felt the same way because I still thought they weren't going about it in the right way. You can't assume that everything is black no matter what. Secondly, the caliber of the witness began to trouble me. Quite a few instances were reported by military pilots, for example, and he knew them to be fairly well trained. So this is when I first began to think that, well, maybe there was something to all of this. End quote. After the 1960s, with Project Blue Book coming to an end, Hymex began openly speaking more about the change of his opinion. He actually, in 1973, founded the Center of the UFO Studies located in Evanston, Illinois, and this was a place for scientists to study UFO evidence with hopefully an open mind and less outside influence. By the end of his career, he is reported saying, quote, "What I really believed about UFOs, I do believe that the UFO phenomenon as a whole is real, but I do not mean necessarily that it is just one thing. We must ask whether the diversity of observed UFOs all spring from the same basic source as do weather phenomenon, which all originate in the atmosphere." End quote. I thought it is interesting to see a man of science change his perspective after opening his mind to this possibility that the government might lie, you know.
Yeah.
Easily downplaying the possibility of UFOs existing was kind of just what the government did for a very, very long time. It wasn't until within the last 20 years or so that we have seen more proof and videos from the military, and with technology we can now capture the proof that is very hard to just explain away. The incident I'm going to talk about today is a prime example. This involves the military, but no one can explain exactly what they were seeing, and I'm curious what you will think after you hear what they saw.
Okay. Leia's going to give her opinion too.
Space. So for my encounter, I'm taking us to Stephenville, Texas. A cute college town, home of Teleton State University. This town is on the North Bosque River. It has a population around 22,000. I want to tell the story of Ricky and his encounter that happened 2 weeks before the Stephenville incident in December of 2007. So he was out deer hunting when it suddenly grew dark around him, and when he looked up, he saw a huge flying object blocking out the sun. Ricky couldn't tell the shape of the thing because it was so large he couldn't see all of it. He then used the scope on his rifle to get a better look at, and what he could see on the side of the object was smooth with no bolts or seams. It was completely no windows, just completely black slated smooth. Ricky stated it flew at such a high rate of speed it should have swept him off his feet, but there wasn't even a whisper of wind when it flew. He also reported seeing praying mantis type men in the window of this craft, and Ricky one day confided in his friend Leroy, who was the sheriff in this small town, that these men in black suits from the government were harassing him. They came to his house to intimidate him, leaving a high-caliber bullet on his truck dashboard.
What the heck?
And that was an unspoken threat for him to stop talking.
I guess so.
He even talked about helicopters flying over his place at all hours. But Ricky eventually stopped talking to people, and the sheriff thinks that they may have paid him some hush money, or he simply just listened. So on January 8th, 2008, just around dinner time at 6 p.m., Steve Allen was invited by his friend Mike to come enjoy a nice evening by the campfire, probably just shooting the shit with some friends and a beer. His friend Lance also had joined them. So Stephen notices lights in the sky, maybe a dozen lights, so bright it, quote, almost burns your eyes even to look at, end quote. He asked his friend Mike and Lance if they were seeing the same thing he was seeing, and they replied, yes, I see it. He stated how the aircraft made zero noise, no engine hum or wind noise, and it moved faster than he had ever seen any aircraft go. And what is unique about Steve's retelling of this encounter is that he was a pilot and a veteran, so I would say that he has a decent knowledge about aviation.
Yeah.
Where the black craft flew by, it was followed by 2 F-16 military jets, and the aircraft was leaving the F-16s in the dust. The aircraft had around 7 lights in the back, randomly blinking. As it got closer to Stephen, the lights arched in like a rainbow. The next thing, the lights all ignited into flames. The estimated size of the craft was about a mile long. There were dozens of people reporting seeing the same thing that night. But of course, no one had any ideas what they were seeing. The craft was bigger than anything that we had seen and moved faster than the military jets chasing it. Steve called the Empire Tribune to report his story to the news. The publisher actually posted this article without the editor approving it, and the story quickly became the talk of the town, blowing up the attention on this small town. News places around the world were calling Stephen to get his story for their reports. It was confirmed by the military after they first denied it that 2 F-16s were in the air that day, but they would not give a reason why the jets were there. In the episode I watched on UFO Investigating the Unknown, former director of research Robert Powell obtained radar information from the FAA. It took about 7 weeks with a Freedom of Information Act request. He got the radar of that night. In the radar, you can see the 2 fighter jets close to the eyewitness's home at the time he said that they were by the campfire at 7:15 p.m. And then you can see on the radar an unknown object about 2 miles from that home. This object is standing still, and in a matter of one radar blip, that object moved closer to Stephenville at a minimum of 1,900 miles per hour.
Holy crap.
From stationary to that speed. And that...
Yeah, that sounds otherworldly.
Yes. And that is the Stephenville encounter. That was the evidence that we had. And the small little town, and they had multiple people with the same eyewitness.
I mean, I definitely believe in UFOs, for sure. Yeah. There's proof of them, you know?
Yeah, I definitely believe in them.
As far as aliens go, I mean, they're out there somewhere. Whether it's just another more advanced human civilization on another planet, I don't know. But there's no way we are the only things in the entire universe.
No, there's no way.
No way. We don't even have an understanding of how immensely big the universe is.
We don't even have our entire ocean discovered, so...
Yeah, we don't even have our entire galaxy discovered, and there's millions of galaxies.
Yeah. It's a big, scary place out there.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, space is wild.
It is.
But yeah, UFOs for sure exist.
Yeah, I believe in that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that people are being abducted onto them, but...
Yeah.
I believe people have at least seen things, you know?
Sorry, I had to wet my whistle.
Alrighty, so next we'll move into cryptids.
Yes.
The cryptid I chose is Mothman. The Mothman is a winged humanoid cryptid from Point Pleasant, West Virginia. He was first sighted in the 1960s, and he was characterized by large glowing red eyes and large wings. Unlike with many other cryptids such as Sasquatch and the Yeti, whose sightings have been persisted for centuries, Mothman lore is more recent, dating to the 1960s. No indigenous American Indian myths of the Mothman have ever been recounted, nor were there accounts of this creature during colonial times. The myth of the Mothman emerged in the region of Point Pleasant, West Virginia over a 13-month period between November 12, 1966 and December 15, 1967, when dozens of alleged eyewitnesses accounted for a mysterious creature roaming the area, and these accounts were reported to local authorities and the media. The first reported encounter came from a group of 5 gravediggers near the small town of Clendenin, West Virginia, who claimed that they had seen a brown, human-like creature flying overhead and passing through the trees. 3 days later, 2 married couples, Steve and Mary Millette and Roger and Linda Scarberry, claimed to have encountered the creature that would eventually be named the Mothman. The 4 witnesses were driving in a car near Point Pleasant when they claimed to have spotted the Mothman. When they attempted to speed away out of fear, they claimed the creature kept pace with them overhead. The Mallets and the Scarberries described the creature as being approximately 7 feet tall with 2 large wings and lacking a clearly distinct head, even though it had 2 bright eyes that appeared to be more on its chest area. The couples reported that the creature did not flap its wings, appearing instead to glide through the air, and made loud squeaky noises that resembled a mouse. Approximately 100 people reported sightings or encounters with an unexplained creature matching the Mothman description in the Point Pleasant region over the next 13 months. The creature's nickname, the Mothman, was inspired by Killer Moth, a villain from the Batman comic books. UFO sightings and other unexplained phenomena were reported to local police over this same time period. On the evening of December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant collapsed after one of its steel bars ruptured, causing 31 vehicles to fall into the freezing water of the Ohio River.
That's scary.
The collapse caused... Yeah, that's very scary. That's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah. Good. God.
Whenever I go over the Route 30 bridge over the Susquehanna, I always zoom.
Yeah. Won't catch me.
The collapse... Yeah. The collapse caused 46 fatalities and 9 injuries. Dozens of local residents claim to have seen the Mothman flying to and from the Silver Bridge immediately before and after this tragedy occurred. Claims of Mothman sightings significantly decreased following this incident, which caused some members of the local community, along with paranormal researchers, to believe that the sightings of the Mothman during the 1-year period before the collapse of the Silver Bridge were intended to serve as an ominous warning. In 1975, paranormal author John Keel wrote The Mothman Prophecies, which argues that the rumored sightings of the Mothman between 1966 and 1967, reported sightings of UFOs in West Virginia, and the Silver Bridge tragedy were all interconnected phenomena. A movie by the same name was released in 2002. Also in 2002, the town of Point Pleasant held its first annual Mothman Festival. The festival is a 2-day event that occurs during the 3rd weekend of September and features food, live bands, artwork, information about the 1966-7 Mothman sightings, and other events. I want to go to this.
Yeah.
I know. You just missed it.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah, next year we gotta go.
Yeah.
West Virginia's not that far.
Yeah, we go.
Well, we'll get farther for you, but
I'll figure it out.
yeah, we'll meet there.
Yeah.
The Mothman Museum opened in October of 2005 and features original newspaper articles documenting eyewitness reports of the Mothman and accounts of the Silver Bridge's collapse, police notes and reports pertaining to the alleged sightings, props, and equipment from the Mothman Prophecies film, and a gift shop. In 2003, Point Pleasant erected a statue of the Mothman designed by Bob Roach, a sculptor from New Haven, West Virginia, in its downtown district. And that's the legend of the Mothman.
I love Mothman, actually.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
I should get a tattoo of him.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
That'd be a cool tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want a tattoo, period, but
Yeah,
it ain't happening anytime soon.
nope, same.
Nope.
Thanks, economy.
Yeah, I know. God, barely to live, let alone a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my cryptid is the Rake. So, I'm going to talk about the Rake, and I don't feel like a lot of people know about this creature, but I think it's a scary and creepy little thing, personally, and that's why I wanted to cover it.
And check out our Instagram if you want to see photos.
Yes, because, yeah, we're going to post the creepy little creature. The discovery of the existence of the cryptid didn't start until like 2006, really. And in 2006, a few witnesses of the Rake found each other. This caused the group to begin digging into other possible witnesses that were overlooked. And in their research, they found over a dozen mentions of the Rake. And before I go over a few of the encounters, so the Rake is described as 6 feet tall, pale, smooth skin with no hair, long, sharp claws, long, thin limbs. Its body is seen hunched over, crawling on all fours with sharp teeth and glowing eyes.
You.
There have been legends saying that the Rake can shapeshift or it can read people's minds. There is some that believe the Rake originated on the internet, specifically 4chan, and I believe the Rake was also a thing that was talked about on the internet that gave it a name for people who didn't know what they were seeing. You know what I mean? I feel like it may have been something that existed before. It's just people didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
So one of the first evidence that was found of the Rake where the Rake was mentioned dates back to 1691, and this evidence just quotes from a mariner's log. Quote, "He came to me in my sleep from the foot of my bed. I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not come here again at the request of the Rake." End quote.
Oh, ominous.
Yes. The next story I have is from a witness in 2006 in New York. It was a family who had returned home after a trip to Niagara Falls. They had spent the entire day driving, so when they got home, they put the kids to bed and settled in themselves. At around 4 a.m., the wife thought she had felt her husband get out of bed, so she went to roll over, stealing back some of the blankets before he got back into bed. But instead, her husband was still in the bed, and she had woken him up with her movement. When she rolled over to face him, his eyes became wide, and he had pulled her into his chest. And once her eyes adjusted to the dark, she was able to see probably one of the scariest things I could imagine sitting at the end of the bed. This human-looking creature was at the end of the bed facing away. The thing was naked, perched in an unnatural stance, like its arms were broken. Of course, the wife
You.
immediately thinks, "Oh, poor thing, let's help it." I'd be grabbing the gun personally, but
Yeah, I'd be running out the window, actually.
no. So the creature then scurries quickly along the blankets to hover a foot over the husband's face and stare at him for like 30 seconds.
Nope, I'm out. Bye, husband.
Right? The creature touched the husband's knee and ran down the hallway to the kids' room. The wife
Oh, hell no.
The wife screamed and scrambled to her feet because now her mother has kicked in and her babies are in trouble. She scrambled for the light switch while the creature made its way into the children's room. She ran down the hallway and was able to see the creature about 20 feet away. It stood there with its misshapen body, and when it turned around to look directly at the mother, the light from the bedroom was enough to show the face of the now blood-soaked creature.
You.
The mother flipped on the light in the children's bedroom to show her daughter Clara, who was now severely injured, and she was in her bed. She said, quote, the little girl said, quote, he is the Rake before passing out. The Rake had gone down the stairs and was gone, and the mother stayed with the son, and the husband took the daughter to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, the husband crashed into a lake on the way, and no one survived.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What the heck?
I know. That was a lot, I know.
Because I was just thinking, man, how do you explain this injury at the hospital?
They didn't even make
And then, and then they die.
Yeah, they didn't even make it to the hospital.
Wow. That is scary.
Yeah. She was interviewed by local news stations, but no one ever published the story. After that incident at the house, the son, Justin, and his mom stayed at a hotel for months. They eventually went back to the house, where the mother started researching what in the world she saw that night. She eventually found a man who was a town over with a similar story to hers. He also knew a few people with other stories involving the Rake. In total, 4 of them who shared their experiences, and they began to research trying to find any other evidence that people may have experienced the Rake. They did find some stories, some with multiple mentions in journal entries of the Rake visiting them. The mother began audio recording herself for 2 weeks trying to catch something. She took an hour every day listening to her 8-hour recording in 8 times speed, but never heard anything for those weeks. There are videos and picture evidence of the Rake out there, like most cryptids. There is no cold, hard proof that the Rake actually exists. And that is the story of the Rake.
Well, if it doesn't exist, what the heck was in their house that night?
Yeah. Just told me it had to reconnect.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I was saying that's a hell of a thing to see in your house.
Yeah. That, I don't know how to explain that one.
No, I don't either. But you guys will have to tell us your opinions on cryptids and maybe what your favorite cryptid is.
Yeah. I do have one more to talk about that's not exactly a cryptid, but it's kind of its own thing. Skinwalkers. Because I think they're super cool and spooky. Skinwalkers are mythological creatures in Native American lore. In the Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a witch-like figure that uses dark magic to transform into animals or humans for malevolent purposes. The Navajo called this witch Yinadalushi, which translates to, with it he goes on all fours. Skinwalkers are out to cause harm and are regarded as the most dangerous type of witches. Witches are not seen as supernatural beings, rather they harness the power of evil. They are called skinwalkers because they wear the skins of the animals they transform into. For this reason, it is taboo in the Navajo culture to wear the pelt or skin of any predatory animal. Skinwalkers may also wear animal skulls or antlers on their heads to gain more power. Becoming a skinwalker is believed to involve an initiation that requires performing a forbidden act, such as killing a family member. Their goal is to manipulate, deceive, and cause harm, sometimes by stealing a person's face or body. Some traditions describe skinwalkers as having abilities like mind reading or causing illness and death. Skinwalkers are a source of dread in communities, and there are taboos against directly confronting or even speaking of them. And I know the show Ghost Adventures, they did an episode at Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. And that was a creepy episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Witchcraft is part of Navajo spirituality and has a long history in their culture and traditions. The Navajo believe powers of good and evil can be utilized by practitioners who have learned their ways. Those who use these spiritual forces for good to help heal and help individuals in the community are known as medicine men. Those who use the power to hurt others are called witches or skinwalkers. According to EBSCO.com, most witches are males but can also be females. In some stories, witches began as healers or spiritual guides who helped others but eventually used their powers for evil. The initiation rite to become a skinwalker is conducted by a secret group. To gain the powers needed to shapeshift to animal forms, the witch must kill a close family member, preferably a sibling. Skinwalkers usually appear as bears, cougars, coyotes, dogs, foxes, or wolves, but can take any animal shape. They choose their shape based on the abilities they need, such as claws, stealth, speed, strength, and teeth, and may transform into another animal if they need to. These witches have other powers too. They can hold in their power by locking eyes with victims, and they can force them to do the witch's bidding. They can read minds and can use their magic to cause illness, death, or destroy property. Skinwalkers can control nocturnal creatures such as owls and wolves, call up the spirits of the dead, and reanimate corpses.
Ew.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. Zombies.
Yeah. Skinwalkers often tap on windows and doors of homes or make scraping noises.
Oh, that's creepy.
In their human form, they have eyes that look like animal eyes, while in animal form, their eyes look human.
Oh.
So I guess that's how you can tell if it's a skinwalker.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They walk among the people by day, but transform at night. People who have since seen skinwalkers say they look both human and animal-like at the same time. Fear of them led to the Navajo Witch Purge of 1878, in which 40 suspected witches were killed. Which I had never heard of that. Had you?
No, I have not.
The Navajo Witch Purge?
Nope.
This event initially evolved from a cultural response to people moving across the U.S. and onto their lands. Thanks, white people.
It's for...
We suck.
We do suck.
After a series of wars with the U.S. Army, the Navajo were expelled from their land and forced to march to the Bosque Redondo, or Fort Sumner, in New Mexico, in what is known as the Long Walk of the Navajo in 1864. There, the people suffered from bad water, failed crops, illness, and death, reducing their numbers dramatically. After 4 years, the government finally admitted they had made a mistake, and the Navajo were allowed to return to their homeland in the Four Corners area. During these years, many of the tribe's members were said to have turned to shape-shifting to escape the terrible conditions. Once the people had returned to their homeland, their conditions improved, but the dreaded skinwalkers, whom they blamed for their years on the bleak reservation, were still among them. Accusations of witchcraft and the hunting of the skinwalkers then began. And then they killed many people. Today, most of the tales of sightings of these witches do not include death or injury, but are more trickster-like. In the 1990s, a ranch in northeast Utah became the focus of the skinwalkers, called the Sherman Ranch, the Skinwalker Ranch, and the UFO Ranch. This place has a history of UFOs, aliens, cattle mutilations, and crop circles. Located near the Ute Indian Reservation, these people have long thought that the Navajo put a curse on their tribe. Since then, the skinwalkers have plagued the Ute people. And that's what I have on skinwalkers.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's always interesting to hear Native American history.
Yeah, I love their culture and things that they believe in.
Yeah, I love to learn about it and hear about it. So That's very interesting. I like that. I hope you guys are enjoying these spooky episodes. Leave us a comment and let us know.
Yeah, or if you have any ideas for us for next year, or if you want, a spooky episode in the middle of the year,
Yeah,
let us know what you want us to cover next.
That's right. Yeah. And while you're doing that, make like a shadow and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast.
Check us out on TikTok at
Lurking in the Shadows Pod.
Any questions, concerns, or case suggestions, shoot us a Gmail at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast at gmail.com. Keep lurking around for our next episode.